What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Jaguar, Bucky Brooks, and this is Bleav in Jaguars, podcast dedicated to all things Jaguars. Today, we're going to break down what took place in London, the second of a back-to-back weekend, a football extravaganza. The Jaguars knock off the New England Patriots. They get back into the winning column, and maybe they build a little momentum heading to what is a very tough stretch of games for the Jaguars going forward. But before we look ahead, let's look back. And before we look back, let's take care of our sponsors. Bet Online. Basketball fans, it's that time of year. The NBA is back. From the opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, Bet Online has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. Bet Online has every stat, matchup breakdown, and live odds to bet on during game. And it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football to MLB playoffs to NHL to political props. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Guys, we talked about the game, and we really were talking about a critical situation last week. There was a lot of worry, a lot of angst. What was going to happen to the Jaguars coming on the heels of a disappointing performance against the Chicago Bears? You had Andre Cisco throw out the word quit. You had Doug Pederson talk about the culture and maybe the lack thereof within the locker room. It felt like the London Bridge was falling down. Luckily, the Jaguars were able to get back on track. In week 6, they were able to get a big win against the Patriots. And I think we should be encouraged by the way that the Jaguars won. Not just that they knocked off the New England Patriots to get back into the win column, but it was the way that they won, the resilience, the grit, the toughness they showed after falling down 10-0, bouncing back, and playing what I would say is not necessarily a clean game, but a complementary football game that has some sustainability. That was easier said. I thought it real nice. But it's a sustainable model for the Jaguars if they stay with this formula and this recipe. When we think about complementary football, we think about tying all three units together, offense, defense, special teams, to allow the team to win. It means that a head coach and the coordinators are able to look at how each unit is operating to make decisions on how to operate with their own respective unit. For instance, if the offense is going and they are on a heater where they are moving up and down the field, it gives the defense a little flexibility to be like, hey, we don't need to be aggressive. We can sit back and wait, bend but don't break. Don't allow anything over our heads. Keep it in front, and we can win the game that way. If the offense is scuffling a little bit, they're struggling, they can't get first downs, then the defense may have to ratchet up the pressure to create short fields and scoring opportunities off turnovers or splash plays or anything like that. If both units are struggling, or if one unit is struggling, the kicking game can really flip the momentum of the game while also providing a scoring opportunity, also providing the team with a short field, whatever it may look like. Those things all work together. And it's one of those things that's always talked about, but we never really see it play out consistently for most teams. The Jaguars were able to use a complementary football approach against the Patriots despite falling down 10-0. They leaned on aspects of the offense, the defense, and the kicking game to not only get back in the game, but eventually pull away from the Patriots. And to me, that is everything, because we can talk about adversity revealing character. All of that is important because Doug talked about this team being tough and determined and resilient and all those things. But then after you lose a handful of games, people begin to wonder, are you living it or are you just saying those things? I can say this, watching the Jags, listening to the conversation come out all week, they're living it. Like, they believe they can get back in the hunt. They believe they can do some damage. It will take a lot, but they certainly believe that they can get it done. And before they can get it done, they knew they had to take care of the action on the field rather than speculate on all the myriad of combination of things that could go right for them to kind of find their way to the winner's circle. When I think about what went right in a complementary football aspect, I would say the running game dominated. The running game we expected to be a big factor just because of how the Patriots like playing what they normally do. You want to run the football to control the action. Man, did the Jaguars run it, and did they run it plenty? The team finished with 171 rushing yards on 39 attempts. Tank Bigsby, who is emerging as a legitimate contender for the RB1 position, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, just relentless, the physicality, the toughness that he displayed running between the tackles. It is easy to envision him getting the bulk of the workload when everyone returns and they decide they need to move back to making sure they have more athletes on the mix, more guys being able to kind of get it done through the air. But running the football certainly helped them get an identity. Now, Joe Thomas, during the preview, talked about why it was important for the Jaguars to run the ball, how he liked the offensive line. He talked about the only guy who was really struggling on the offensive line was Anton Harrison. Felt like Harrison could learn a lot about toughness and meanness and physicality from Brandon Scherff, and that would help him become a better player. What was unexpected in the O-line's dominance was Cam Robinson leaving the game early, subbed out for you sub him out, you put Walker Little in at left tackle, and this offense didn't skip a beat. And in fact, Joe Thomas talked about this team being a physical football team at the line of scrimmage. Their collective, their front line has a connectivity within them where they can communicate and talk freely and do all those things. So you love that aspect of the culture and what they were able to do. But I think it also goes to Doug Pederson and those guys have talked about. Sometimes you got to play bully ball. Sometimes you got to bully the opponent. Sometimes you got to run the ball when everyone knows you're going to run it because you're trying to impose your will and you're trying to set yourself up to win the game in the final quarter. Well, when I hear, those numbers, 39, 171 on the ground, when I see out of my own eyes, like how they dominated the point of attack, how they knocked the Patriots around, and it's a hard front to knock around just because of the sheer size of their guys up front, but they knocked them around. How they finished with violence, running backs finishing with violence and those things. Having been up there, I understand why they do all those things because it's been coaching them. It's ingrained in them. It's ingrained in them to be really physical and those things. It hasn't been that way in Jacksonville of late, but it appears Doug Pederson, Press Taylor were trying to establish something in this game against the Patriots, something that had the ability to continue on, even though somebody else may direct it. What I would say is that they found is offensively, their identity is, look, man, we are a runner between the tackles. We are take a handful of shots down the field, mix in those shots, diagonals. Let's mix in some, little things that are easy, some quicks, some screens, some RPOs, some design quarterback runs to go with a downhill running attack and an offense that wants to push the ball down the field to create big plays in the passing game. Those things happen to be working against the Patriots. And so it was an easy day for Trevor Lawrence. Didn't go over 200 yards, but did a really good job of managing the game, getting the team into the right play, making sure the play was executed at a high level, and just finishing, just finish the game. Put the onus on them, just find a way to finish the game with the running back and that crew, just kind of setting the pace and allowing those guys to go to work. So you're really excited about what you saw from the running game. You're excited about what you saw from the passing game. And the reason why you're excited about the passing game is because Brian Thomas Jr. continues to show that he's him. He's a legitimate number one receiver. The game isn't too big for him. He's dominating right out the gate. 5 catches, 89 yards, 58-yard bomb that he catches, had a touchdown, just beginning to show people like, hey, man, if you're going to leave me single and ISO, I'm going to go to work. And he is going to work. I mean, he is a big-time player. We can talk about whether he's the number one or Kirk or Ingram or number one. I know this. There's nothing like the energy in the building when this guy delivers. Tank Bigsby delivers a big play. If they are giving away those shots, he has to be included because, man, he has the fastest acceleration, the explosive burst that I've ever seen. And he's chasing in the opposite direction. This dude is a remarkable player, and I'm excited, to see what he will continue to do as he really settles into his number one role on the perimeter. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are still ahead of him in the pecking order, but when you want to talk about juice and energy and game-changing ability, playmakers, Brian Thomas Jr. is that guy, and that's why we're excited to see him pop. You talk about other guys who had solid days, like Evan Ingram had 5 for 35. Dearness Johnson had 3 for 32. Solid day. Trevor Lawrence was modest, 15 to 20, 193, one up, but that's winning football, 121.5 passer rate. They stay within themselves. They win. They operate at a high level and have an opportunity to make it happen. So now we talked about the offense and how important that was. And we're going to talk about the kicking game. But before we talk about the kicking game, let me tell you, man, this is why your boy is always feeling good when he pops on here. He has a little cherry Bundy concoction, 100% tart cherry juice. And what this does, it gives you the energy and stuff that you need. Let me see if you can see it. There we go. It gives you the energy that you need. It talks about help with your immunity, your recovery, everything that is related to your body. Cherry Bundy helps. And when I'm always thinking about, look, if you want to be a champ, you got to act like champs act. And one of the things that the champs do is they make sure they use this as a part of their daily routine. 10 out of the last 11 Super Bowl teams have participated in it. 66 of 67 Power 5 conferences have a school that participated in it. To me, it's a no-brainer. This is going to get you right. It's going to make you feel stronger, better, more locked in and together. So we can continue to get on that. Now let's talk about the kicking game and why the kicking game was so good. How many phases do coaches talk about in football? 3. I'm going to give you the answer. Offense, defense, special teams. And the reason why 3 is the magic number, because if you win 2 of the 3, more than likely you can win the game. So if we look at how this goes and how they want to kind of make it work, the way that you make it work is you got to find explosive plays in the kicking game. Explosive play, any run, any return over 10 to 15 yards, that's explosive. Anything where you can flip the field as a returner, that's explosive. Anything where you down them in the landing zone or down them in the 20, that's explosive in the other way. The Parker Washington, the second year pro, Penn State, man, he made some money for himself yesterday because he delivered a punt return that was epic in terms of the timing and how it changed the game. Treats to the 4-yard line, catches it. The team outran his coverage. He finds a way to get to the sideline, takes it a distance, 96-yard punt return touchdown. The crowd is going crazy. The sideline is juiced and amped. And all of the, I would say, the fog that was over the team in the first part of the season has all been lifted. The team is now back and ready to do the things that they want to do. Park Washington, like people are talking about whether he's a 3rd or 4th receiver, he can replace Christian Kirk and those things. I don't think that's in the cards. I think what's in the cards for him is can he be dominant as a returner, to maybe give you a little something on some of those other things, whatever it may be, and then find a way to be the more physical team over time. So when you take care of the special teams in the kicking game, you've taken care of all of those things. But let's just talk about it. So when we think about Parker Washington, their return, everyone, all hands on deck, everyone's hustling, everyone's finishing through. When I look at the defense, when I look at the kickoff return tape, I don't see the same kind of effort and energy. Got to fix that because there's some big plays available, but we're not doing it. So much anxiety about whether we catch it or not. We just got to trust it's going to happen. It's going to work for them. We're going to make it happen. If we do that, we'll be fine, because what I see Kansas City Chiefs team. Scratch that, eliminate that. The Kansas City Chiefs team. I don't know where that came from. Here we go. What I see a team that can flip the field with their special teams unit. They can set the offense with short fields. They can really force teams to drive the length of the field with their performance. Because of that, they're great complements to an offense that is beginning to find its way and a defense that will find its way in the upcoming weeks as they kind of settle in and become the team that they need to be based on the personnel that they have. Before we move on, let's pay off another sponsor. Before we talk about the defense, you know what this is? This is my melon hat, and it defends me from the sunlight, keeps all this stuff away from me. It's super chill. We talk about the HydroCool technology, well constructed. This is a hat that I can rock out when I'm with my golf buddies and we're trying to kind of have a little fun, play for some skins and do all that. Please Bleav, if you see Bucky Brooks on the golf course, got my melon hat, taking care of my skin, making me feel like the player that I want to be, which is a champ. Melon, make sure you check it out. MELIN, melon.com, for the new hats that we're promoting, and we got it. So now the final thing that shows up when we talked about the Jaguars game, and they talked about complementary football. We talked about the running game, Tank Bigsby, the big plays from Brian Thomas Jr., the dominance of the offensive line. Walker Little stepping in for Cam Robinson, everyone playing together. After a third of the season, the team is beginning to really gel and connect. So all those things are good. Parker Washington dominating in the kicking game, the return game, 96-yard return, maybe ill-advised by some, but man, the opponent outkicked the coverage and really set him up for success. He took advantage of that, put the ball in the paint, and really opened up a can on these guys. Now, we can talk about offense. We can talk about special teams. But it's hard to be a championship caliber team if your defense is all wrong. And when I look at the defense, I see some gradual improvements, but not the kind of dominance that you want to see to make you feel good about where the team is and how the team is going to be. I would say there were mad improvements when it comes to the pass rushing coverage. Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen being able to get around the paint, being able to get close to the quarterback, being able to kind of get hands on him and around him impacts the way that he plays. The other part that impacted is when he's going through all that and Jaguars are locked in eyes on him like that. That is kind of what you want when you're able to create consistent pressure up front. Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, we saw that. Only Walker had a sack credit, but the pass rush was great. The pass rush plan was great. Drake May's athletic. He does a really good job. He didn't go past the depth of the quarterback. You were able to kind of flush him up the middle. Yes, he made a couple plays, but overall, the pass rush started having their way with him until they let up off the gas. How does that matter? What does it matter? Well, Joe Thomas kind of gave us some feedback and some clues in terms of how this team could kind of tweak their approach going into the postseason. Talked about the pass rush really comes down to two guys, 44 and 41. So Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen. You got to figure out a way to get those guys on opposite sides, connect sides, lots of movement, and you'll notice the change. The other thing that I would say is before you even get to, from a philosophical standpoint, how he changed, I would say, man, it's players over plays. You want to be a good coordinator, get players to take care of these main plays. And so, like, the two guys you got to be aware of, 44 and 41, power players, nasty players, love it, all love it. The smoke, they love all of it. So you want to give them that, and you want to give them a chance to impose their will because they are not only in, you know what I'm saying, like savvy technicians and tacticians, but these dudes are really, you can say they can run all day. They're built for it. They're built for the grind. They don't have many subs, but it doesn't matter because they're built to play the whole game. Why would you want to come off the field when you are a player? So when we think about building the upfront pressure with 44 and 41, you love that. It's a big part of it. The other thing in tweaking the secondary, Tyson Campbell comes out, goes to right corner. Darnell Savage is slotted in at one of those high safety positions, arguably the free safety position. This is a team that will use nickel and dime personnel. So Jarian Jones will kind of have an opportunity to get in there and get in the mix. You love all of that. Like, it's really important that those guys get into the conversation. Those guys find a way to make a team and not only make a team, but find a way to make a major contribution. When I think about, that part of it, I think about Savage, like moving to strong safety. I think about Antonio Johnson dropping down to the bench. And then I think, like, all right, well, if we have all this going, we need to find one other player that can do it. And I think you saw that with Jarian Jones and Antonio Johnson being the dime and the nickel, and how the Jaguars play with them. If you're going to play man-to-man, you got to make sure you match up, take in another one of the linebackers on the field, puts more speed on the field. And I would expect them to choke people out in terms of their physicality, toughness, discipline. Area of improvement that we have to talk about is the alignment discipline on the big level. Man, we just talk about having a dominant performance. We just talk about completely crushing the Patriots. Well, now, if you're doing that, and this is a coaching thing, you got to know where your team is and how fragile their psyche is. So you talk about being able to go up and potentially making a 3-score game, and you kept left points on the field because you didn't get it. At some point, man, you just want to keep stacking wins and just walk out of there with just a winning performance. They didn't have that. It has to continue to improve. They got to continue to improve on, I would say, some of the little things that are plaguing them offensively. The things that are plaguing them, man, the penalties, just the pre-snap penalties, the drop balls, the turnovers, and those things. That stuff is wrong. We got to fix that. We got to address that because that's taken away from a really solid effort offensively. Kicking game, Parker Washington has to be aware, has to be on it, understand situations, circumstances, when he's up, when he's not. all of those things um, kind of factor into the equation. When I look at the defense, man, look, it's a star-driven league. And so I'm going to point out some of the stars. 44-41, two dominant players at the point of attack. They got to continue to dominate to keep the game on their terms. When we think of Tyson Campbell returning number one corner, takes on the best receiver, how he adapts and adjusts to the new system will be critical because it also opens the field for other guys. Darnell Savage and Jerry Jones and nickel and bandit. This is a great addition because it allows the Jags play man-to-man against anybody and not worry about the linebacker getting caught in a bad switch, those things. You locked in your man is your man, you work through picks and rubs, and it's like that until the game is over. You got some change-ups and some things like that where you may seek a little comfort in those things, but right now, everything is about what we're doing, what we're talking about, and how we're bringing it together. So then what does this look like going forward? Well, to me, here's a little preview of what Doug Pederson has always wanted the team to be. Physical team, smart, tough, disciplined, detailed, all those things. They're going to run it, but they may not run it the way that people want them to do, old school, slammer head run. No, he'll slam it up in there when he needs to, but they got to impose their will from the jump. They need to make sure they find a way to put points on the board early, play from in front, and then force this team to get back to doing what they do, which is turning the ball over and doing all kinds of stuff when they lose their way. That's what opponents do when we talk about it. Looking ahead to the Green Bay Packers, I would say that the thing you want to take out of this performance is the Jaguars coaches. Love the resilience and the grit that came out of being down 10-0. We've seen how that can knock them out their thing, but the resilience, determination, we stood up. Man, we talked about so many guys who played well. I talked about Tank Bigsby, the numbers, 118, 2 tubs. Man, they ran the ball 39 times for 171. That is a great job by that offense. Brian Thomas Jr. having 89 receiving yards, including a 58-yard bomb. He's a big play part of the offense. And then the kicking game, like I talk about Parker Washington, 96-yard punt return TV. Who's going to tell them, like, they got it. It's going to continue to be a problem and a thorn in everyone's eye until you have to really come up with a solution for how to deal with it. But when I look at the defense and I look at how they are able to get down with the players up front, the fully loaded secondary with Campbell and Savage and Antonio Johnson and Jerry Jones. And I think this is going to be the group that kind of hangs in there for a minute and kind of gives people the problems that we expected them to have when they were dealing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's my take on it. That's how they were able to kind of go over the season, maybe kind of find a little confidence. It was about paying great attention to detail. It's about making sure that the game plan was one that was emphasizing complementary football, offense, defense, special teams working together to get a dub. It was one where we talked about the young players, and it's obvious because all the names that I read are young players. Tank Bigsby, Brian Thomas Jr., young guys that have stepped up and played really well, and aging or an older offensive line. They're still kind of working through it, but yeah, it's an issue. Parker Washington being dynamic, the stars on defense kind of showing up and making the plays. And even though it was not a great defensive effort at the end, team bowled in there, made the plays they had to make. And so you never apologize for winning. So we want to apologize for the Jags win, even though we have loftier goals and greater expectations for what this team is going to be at season's end. Next pod we have, we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers and the challenge that they pose to a defense that is really trying to gear up for anybody being the number one. Since we're at the end, we've got to make sure we talk about rate, review, subscribe to the podcast channel. Make sure you're checking all the cool stuff that we're doing at Bleav Network, the stuff that we're doing right here in the community on the Jags, the stuff that some of my colleagues are doing with their respective teams and those things. Check it out. Got enough room for all of it to work. But this has been a really cool deal. Going over to London twice, watching the team play. Can't say that I'm more excited about it. And I'm really excited to share with you some of the stuff that's going on. One little nugget from inside the locker room that I got to tell you, because I always do the halftime report. Ventrell Miller is quietly becoming the leader of the defense. This dude, young dude, trying to find his way, coming off surgery. Like, I can tell you right now, the dude is playing with his hair on fire. He is all over the place. He's the vocal leader. Third down, money down, more violence, more physicality, more toughness. Guys lined up, playing with that energy. I'm just telling you, Ventrell Miller is going to have a major impact on this team, whether it's as a starter or a high rotational player. This dude has the goods. And so the next time we're on Bleav in Jaguars, talk a little bit more about Ventrell Miller and how he can help this team get on track going down a critical stretch where they played the NFC North and some of those heavyweights in that division. Till next time, I'm Bucky Brooks. This is Bleav in Jaguars.